from the Heartland Business and Event Center nestled in vibrant downtown Jesup, Iowa. Give me another.
We're vibrating. It's an earthquake.
Welcome to the Bohemian Network alongside producer Blake Tempus, co-host Dale Rueber. I'm Jim Gillespie, and this is the news for May 25th, 2026. Also, check out our brother podcast, What Is Up, with our friend Bubba Seaman. On that podcast, they talk about everything with everyone. Nothing is off the table, discussing real life with real people. The good and the bad, the highs and the lows, and everything funny in between. It's an interesting yet entertaining podcast with people talking about what is up. So Dale, I see one of your friends is in China right now.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were going to say one of my friends is in jail. I thought, who's that? But no.
Well,
did he make it all the way over? Or?
Actually, he probably arrived there about now, actually.
Okay, all right. So
I'm not sure of the time zone.
Yeah. I'm a little worried about that trip. I don't know. He thinks he's such a good let's make a deal kind of guy, but I don't know. Those Chinese guys, they've been doing this for a long time, and so.
My question is, what does he want out of that? What does he want out of China?
Well, they want the rare earth metals.
China wants those too.
Yeah, but China's got a lot of them, and I think he wants to keep the chip technology out of the Chinese hands, and he doesn't want China to invade Taiwan, but China wants the oil from Iran. You know, they're not getting that right now because of everything, and so what would constitute a good deal for the United States? And
let's look at AI first there for how we use it and how they use it.
Okay.
All right. They use AI to help their people. I'm not convinced that our country uses AI to our people's or to help our people. We use AI to harm, as far as take jobs away from our people.
Well, it hasn't come to that yet, but that's coming, though, I think, if we don't do something. I think we have time, but not much time, to kind of get all that sorted out. But there are people that think there are ways of using AI that will be beneficial and not harmful. But there are a lot of people who look at it with a little fear in their heart, because you can see if you have massive unemployment because of AI, then who's Henry Ford paid his workers more than anybody else, but they all bought cars then. But if you have all these people laid off because of AI, then who's going to buy all this electronic if it's for sale? I guess I don't. I know so little about it, and I'm so old. I just really don't delve into it as much as I should, because I just don't want to get involved. I guess that's a terrible thing to say.
Here's the argument. We're not far, from having AI up in satellites and stuff powered by the sun, maybe 10 years away.
Yeah.
Why do we have to rob the world of billions, if not trillions, of gallons of water that we're doing right now?
But see, there's things they can do with that water.
Oh, I know.
They can, where it's a self-contained system, you don't always have to have new water all the time. And also, we, the people, should own this. Because AI is just where they've taken all the stuff from everybody and crammed it into a little space, and you can get information faster. Everything goes faster. But all that stuff belongs to the people.
How does AI belong to? How does the AI used in, let's say, the launch of a nuclear missile belong to the people? How does AI in a car or in a weapon belong to the people? It belongs to the owner that's invented that day.
Well, but like the airways, when radio and television started, they said the airways that they are using belong to everybody. So they made rules and regulations about how they could use our airways, how they could send signals through our air. You remember that? You understand that? Is that making sense?
Yeah,
okay.
I see what you're
saying. So there are permits and regulations and this sort of thing. Well, AI, there's 5 companies that are real big, 5 guys that control all this.
Yeah.
And they have compiled a way of using all the information that's been gathered in the world for their own benefit. But that information belongs to everybody.
See, that's the problem, Dale. The Chinese aren't using AI for that. We are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, our country
I
is.
don't know, but I'll take your word for it. Yeah.
I mean, you know, AI is trying to, you know, obviously the Chinese have, 1.7 billion people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, the number is, you know, go 1.3 to 1 point, you know, whatever. You know, their numbers are down too. You know, I think we can fix that. It's like, you know, as these cars drive by, Henry Ford didn't plan on having all those wrecked cars that are between here and Independence or here and Waterloo.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
he didn't plan on the fog or the smog that is out there.
Sure.
You know, he didn't plan on all that. And it's hard to plan on that either way. But I understand. I'm talking both ways there.
Well, it's a tough subject.
Yeah,
And,
it is.
There are people that think, you know, we're going to make it work. It's going to work for the benefit. And there are others that think, you know, this is going to be very, very harmful to millions of people. It's not like a 50-year deal either. It goes so fast that, you know, 5 years, 10 years, all the stuff that we're worried about could come to fruition. I mean, it could be here that quick. It's just so.
Is there? So here's one issue that faces them. I mean, among multiple issues, you know, everybody makes a big deal because we live in Iowa. Everybody makes a big deal over the soybeans and the cattle and everything. You know, they could do that over the phone. That's not something that they have to go to China, that Trump has to go to China for.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
as far as a trade agreement.
Yeah,
that's
you know,
true.
So those commodity things aren't a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the issues are, like you said, the People's Republic compared to the Republic of China.
Yeah.
You know, Taiwan. The issue is, do you allow AI to make the decision to launch a nuclear missile? That's an issue.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not convinced that you don't allow a human and AI. You know, I had to go to the doctor actually early this morning, and they were telling me that they not only was a human going to read my results, but the AI was going to read the results. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I have no problem with AI double checking.
Sure, and they find things much more readily than the human eye.
Yeah.
So you're wise to have that happen. I mean, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And you still have the doctor and the technicians, but then you run it through the AI part of it also.
And I think the nuclear missile, you know, and China's still behind us. Like, I think we have like 10,000 nuclear missiles and China has 6,000.
Yeah.
But the other issue is Chinese cars, what was it, 10 years ago, they were selling 1 million cars a year. Last year, the Chinese sold 7 million cars a year.
Yeah, well, and they're very inexpensive.
And so so Ford and Chevy don't want those cars in our country.
They really don't.
No. No. I mean, but we do.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
yeah. Well, that's what hurt the auto industry in the 50s and so in the 60s. You know, everybody buy American cars, and pretty soon you had these little Japanese cars coming in and the German cars, and over time they made quality vehicles, and a lot of people bought them, and so the American car companies had to change, and so. But I don't know anything about this, but like an electric car, you would figure it's not going to wear out because it doesn't have all the moving parts like a gasoline car. And so, how long will what's the shelf life, or what's the active? How many miles can you get on one of those before it needs a major overhaul or whatever?
Sorry,
your chair collapsed. You know, that's that to me is something to think about too. Is that, you know, you're not going to need 5 million new cars in this country every year.
But here's the issue, Dale. Gas is so out of control now that e-cars now are cheaper.
Oh, sure.
Than
in the long run,
than gas cars are right now.
I mean, it's fantastic because 2 years ago, I could only get like $40 worth of gas in my car, but now I can get $80 worth of gas in my car. So things are looking up.
So I see they're going. President Trump is talking about, asking. I forget who's in charge of the money, the House or the Senate. The House.
Well, the House brings up spending bills.
Yeah. So asking the House to put a moratorium on the gasoline tax.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the roads. You take that money away.
Yeah, that's the thing. See, in Iowa, all our taxes are down. So down. But we do not have a full complement of highway patrol officers. A few years ago, we had people killed in prison because they were doing jobs they shouldn't have been doing because they didn't have enough guards, trained guards, to do that sort of thing because they don't have the budget. They don't have the money to cover what they need. So there's a lot of, you have to, do you want low taxes or do you want services? And if you want low taxes, then are you willing to put up with poor service where, bad things happen sometimes? And I think that's one of the fundamental differences is that there are some people that want to keep their money to themselves, and other people think we ought to be spending more money on what we would call the public good. And so until one side or another, really in our state, one side has had to say for 10 years now. And so you get to the point where people say, okay, I'm fed up with this. I'm willing to pay more to have better roads and better this and better that and more highway patrolmen. Then your elected officials change through the polls. So I'm going to let the other guys have a turn and see what they do. And a lot of people think we're at that point this year, but we'll have to wait and see. So,
all right.
So I don't know. There's so much. I don't want to. I don't know why anybody would listen to me talk about this because I don't know a darn thing about it. But it's scary if you have. I have grandchildren, and it's okay. What kind of jobs are they going to have, and how many different jobs are they going to have, and how are things going to change, and where are they going to fit into all of this? And I have no clue because I don't know. Just like in, my dad was born in 1903. That's the same year the Wright brothers flew the first airplane, and he lived long enough to see rocket ships take people to the moon and all the different technology that would evolve from that one little car through taking people into space. And you think, okay, it's even worse now. What kind of things are going to happen? What kind of things are going to evolve? What kind of things are we going to need that we can't even think about right now? We have a lot of greedy people in this country that want to be billionaires or want to have more billions. And so that's part of it too.
You look at, and Dale, I'll never ever understand this. If you look at sports, and let's say Dale Rueber is the greatest catcher the Chicago Cubs ever had, and he wants $30 million a year, and he deserves $30 million a year because he is the next Yogi Berra. Okay, but the people like the billionaire owner, billionaire owner that takes money hand over fist from them, that they have no idea, that they don't see every day in the sports page. They just see him. They just see him when he's got to pay $30 million to that great catcher Dale Rueber. I can't get over how people would rather support those billionaires than Dale Rueber.
Yeah, me too. No. There's a finite number of people that can play Major League Baseball.
Yep.
And then the number's not huge. And most of those people, AAA is one step down, but most of those guys will never play. And a lot of teams are there, your AA, AAA teams, a lot of them are there because they have two or three guys that are really good in their system, and they need some place to play.
Yep.
And so they'll pay those other guys to play with them, really, and not very much. But they just need some place for them to play to get better. And so the billions of dollars, they said like Ted Turner bought the Atlanta Braves for $500,000, and now they're worth like $40 billion, because it has taken off. And so that team is worth that much more. Those people that can play that game to a high quality deserve a big chunk of that money, because their careers are short also, most of them.
Right.
And so I don't see anything wrong with people getting paid what they're worth, But it's still, you think, Mickey Mantle paid for $10,000 a year or something, and this guy gets $500 million and doesn't even come close to being the player. But that's a long time. Things change, and so I think the player should get a good chunk. And I don't know if it's the NFL or whoever, they say, okay, 50% of the money goes to the players. You
Listen,
can figure out how to
yeah.
do it, but they have a percentage of the gate or of the income or whatever. Whereas some of them, they don't want to say how much they make. They want to keep all that and just try to get by on the cheap. And to me, whenever you try to get by whenever I bought something different or something cheaper to save money, I always regret it in the long run.
Yep.
Because it never stands up, it never works out, and so you're better off paying the money up front. And so I don't even know if I answered your question or not, but it's just, I would like to think if I had tons of money like that, I would be giving tons of money away, like Morris K. Jesup did.
Well, and they do. You look at Ted Turner that just passed away here recently, and he gave money away.
Yeah, not everybody's like that though.
Yeah.
And but I know Warren Buffett, where he redid his finances or his wills or whatever, so that his kid was not getting the whole pie. He was getting one tiny little sliver because he wanted the kid to have to go to work every day.
Right.
So he only left him $1 billion instead of $400 billion or whatever. But which I think, if you had a lot of money, if you could tell your kids, okay, I'm leaving you this money, so you never have to work, but I want you to work. I want you to find a career that helps people, and we have something to do every day and some reason to get out of bed instead of not having any cause or interest that are really making you want to help out. And so to use the money wisely. But I never had a lot of money, so who knows what I would have done. I keep that.
Yeah. All right. Well, you heard it here. Yeah. You can.
They heard it. I don't know if they understood it or not. I don't know if I understood it. But,
you can get a hold of Dale Rueber to get a loan at 319-555.
A lot of people think you asked me too hard a question for my feeble old brain to figure.
All right.
So you probably get a lot of hate mail. Because I got a lot of fans out there.
You do have a lot of fans out there. This is Steve Brown Art Center Podcast Network. We'll be right back. This is Steve Brown Art Center Podcast Network. We're back after a melee took place during the break. So Dale, calm things down with a story from history.
All right, this is from my little book. I remember The Greatest Stories Never Told, and we've been talking about Memorial Day's coming up, and then RAGBRAI's coming through, and Farmers Day. And Farmers Day, we have between 500 and 600 American flags, and I'd put all of it, but for Memorial Day, we're going to put them from the corner by the library, Hawley and 6th Street, out to the cemetery. It's about a mile on both sides. And so we're going to put the flags up on Friday and then take them down the Monday afternoon of Memorial Day.
Do you need volunteers to help you, or do you have help to do that?
Yeah, I don't know if volunteers are good. The thing is, you can't get like the scouts to come because they don't have the oomph to get that thing down in the hole. See, the hole is just, so it takes, but we could use some help, I'm sure. But
that Friday.
Yeah, but you can only go so fast because you only have, I think we have 4 drills. We just drill the hole down with those cement bits. So if you have 20 people there, they're going to be allowed to be standing around because they can't drill the holes that fast. And so, but I think if we have 5, 6, 7, 8 people, that works pretty well. And so, and I'm not getting any younger, and that's a mile. So anyway, so a little story here about the Star Spangled Banner. Okay. And the one that flew over Fort McHenry. Have you ever been to the Smithsonian and seen that?
No, I haven't.
And John, have you? It's still there. It's a huge flag. And it's all blown up and but they've been restoring it, I think. But I was there and I saw that flag.
Dale, if I may input something, if you just talk to John in the audience, the other hundreds of people are going to be disappointed that you're talking to just John in the audience.
But John,
forgive us, people.
John's going to do me a favor, so I got to curry. I got to keep brown nosing. Okay. It says the next time you hear our national anthem, tip your hat to the drunken redcoats who made it possible. You didn't know that, did you? Washington, D.C. was aflame thanks to British soldiers who had put it to the torch. With smoke still rising from the ruins, the Brits set out on a march through Maryland. After most of the soldiers had filed peacefully through the town of Upper Marlboro, 2 drunken stragglers came along shouting and carrying on. One of the town fathers, Dr. William Beans, was so incensed with this behavior that he personally carted the drunken redcoats to jail. But one of the men escaped and brought back more redcoats. They released the jailed soldier, seized the good doctor, and carried him off to a British frigate in Chesapeake Bay. So a lawyer friend sailed out to negotiate the doctor's release. Just as he got there, the British began shelling nearby Fort McHenry and detained both men until the shelling was over. That's how a lawyer named Francis Scott Key happened to observe bombs bursting in air. His poem, The Star-Spangled Banner, became an instant hit. The music, Key purloined it. What's that mean? Purloined.
Purloined. Help me.
He stole it.
Okay.
Key purloined it from a tune called To Anacreon in Heaven, which appropriately enough was a popular English drinking song. Okay, so the first known photo of the flag that flew over Fort McHenry was taken at the Boston Naval Yard in 1873. The 32-foot high flag was sewn by Baltimore banner maker Mary Pickersgill, whose mother had made flags for George Washington. It took more than 40 bills and resolutions in Congress before the Star-Spangled Banner was finally adopted as the national anthem in what year? Give me within 10.
48, 1848?
1931. It took that long, but it took 40 bills and resolutions because not everyone was in favor of it. And so a lot of people did not like it. It's hard to sing and sort of thing. But anyway, liquor, that's what's given us so much of our good stuff.
Okay. Good one. Good story.
Been talking about, we saw where Charles Grassley's on his 99 county tour when the Congress was on break. Talking, and they had some of the people asking him questions, which I thought were real softball questions. But there was a poll, a nationwide poll taken recently, where 80% of the responders said our politicians are too old. We need to get rid of some of these old guys. And it was young people, old people, everybody were very much in favor of weaning out some of this. We call it dead wood because they're not dead yet, but old people that are still running things and won't refuse. So I got this thing about Charles Grassley.
Okay.
And you can tell he's starting to feel his age. Okay? All right. Chuck Grassley is so old. Abraham Lincoln in Springfield, Illinois, graduated from a high school called Chuck Grassley High.
Yes.
Yes. Chuck Grassley is so old, when discovered in a hotel love nest with an intern, police did not say it was a felony, they said it was a miracle.
All right.
When Chuck Grassley orders a 3-minute egg in the Senate cafeteria, they make him pay up front. Chuck Grassley is so old, his blood type has been discontinued. I thought that was pretty good.
That is a good one.
Okay.
Yep.
And when Chuck Grassley is so old that when he was in school, they didn't even have a history class. So,
wow.
Yes.
You know, it is, as you talk about Grassley there, and I know you have other places to go here, but as you talk about Grassley here, and I have him in my notes as well.
Okay.
You know, I don't hide it well that I'm also a Democrat. He has, in the last probably 20 years, 15 years, shot himself and his history in the foot so bad with, you know, preventing a Supreme Court justice from going in until Trump.
And I think that was the first really big one that got people saying, that's not right.
You know, that was the first step. And then not standing up to Trump on anything, including letting Iowa farmers be hurt by Trump's taxes on imports and exports.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and as much as I don't have respect for Grassley, I don't have a lot of respect for the Democratic Party right now. They haven't stood up to Trump either.
They need to start yelling more.
They need to do some fighting. They haven't fought.
Yeah, because they should be squealing every day about knocking down part of the White House without any kind of approval. You know, you have to something like that. You got to run that by somebody to start a war. And you know, they keep saying, well, his whole thing was he didn't care about. They said that's today. He didn't care about prices or the economy, this sort of thing. He just did not want Iran to hit a nuclear weapon. And I haven't seen anything yet that somebody said, yeah, here's the stuff. You know, that they had, that they could make into a nuclear bomb. Maybe they have it, maybe they don't.
There is so much out there that is AI, that is done by bots, that is written. I get notifications on my phone that are, you can tell aren't true, like your ship has sunk, you know, all the time, and it's like, okay, you know, that's the 5th ship that was sunk this week. We're really losing this war.
Yeah.
You know, and of course it hasn't. The you know, we need somehow to, our government needs to come out and tell people what is going on right now. Who knows? I read something where it says the nuclear material is buried after a bombing, which I don't doubt.
That's what they said. It's all buried, no problem anymore.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. The problem is that if that's the truth, we're never going to get it from them, and this is not going to get over.
Yeah. Well, I think it's changed the whole, like when Russia's a big superpower, they attack a smaller country, the Ukraine, and they can't close the deal. They've gotten some territory and everything, but they're still getting hit themselves. They are losing thousands and thousands of men and making very little progress. And now the United States goes into Iran and says, okay, we're going to bomb the crap out of them. We got billions of dollars worth of shipping and thousands of soldiers and Marines and sailors all right there ready to go. And we've blown up all their missiles. We've blown up all their ships. They're still in there. They still refuse to quit. They still have weaponry that's enough to keep this thing at a stalemate. And so the whole war thing, where if you got several $1 billion into an aircraft carrier, well, how many $100,000 drones can you buy that are more effective than an aircraft carrier? In many instances, that keeps them going. And so I just think, we got to do things differently. It's got to be something different, because there's no just, we're going to run over the country, we're going to take it over, and then the war is over. Well, apparently that can't be done anymore.
You go back to the Roman Empire, Dale, and they invaded the Mongols, and the Romans rode a 21-hand-high horse, and they had the best armor, and they were incredible. And they got into Mongolia, and the Mongolians were riding ponies and riding circles around them on those ponies. Well, we're in that situation.
Sure. No, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't think anybody expects me to have the answer, which makes it a little easier, but it's just a little Jesup news. Gibby's Food Truck is here Monday the 18th, and Fat Roy, I like Fat Roy. Fat Roy's Food Truck is here 11 to 2 on Wednesday coming up. A couple things. Always remember the library's got all kinds of programs, and go over and check them out. The exercise groups on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8, and the card games Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Tech help, if you need tech help, at 9 o'clock every morning on Mondays, I guess. Little Tot Story Time, Thursdays at 10:30. I don't know if they have more programs this month or not. The libraries will be closed May 23rd and Monday, May 25th for Memorial Day. And the Chapter Chat Book Club is going to be at the Green Roast Cafe on May 18th, that's today, for a book called The Many Lives of Mama Love. And my wife is reading that. She thinks it's pretty good. So I'm not sure what it's about, but I wanted to talk a little bit. We talked about artificial intelligence, and I had an article from April 23rd I've been sitting on from the Waterloo Courier. And this says, keep artificial intelligence out of American classrooms. And it's from Jonah Goldberg. He's the editor-in-chief of something called The Dispatch. It says, Norway is by almost any metric a profoundly successful nation. It's rich, democratic, and relatively corruption-free. It's not a socialist country, but fans of a robust welfare state and high taxes see much to admire in the progressive Norwegian model. It also benefits from having the biggest and arguably best-run sovereign wealth fund in the world. Yet Norway nearly ruined its children. In 2016, flush with cash and progressive values, Norway gave every child starting at the age of 5 their own iPad or similar digital device. A decade later, young Norwegians now struggle to read. Around 500,000 Norwegians in a population of only 5.6 million cannot read a text message or simple instructions, the Times of London report. Of the 65 countries measured for children's enjoyment of reading, it's at the bottom. So Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Støre launched a program in August to deal with this problem. He said, Norwegian children used to be among the best readers in the world, but today 15,000 pupils finish primary school without being able to read properly. So now imagine giving every child an AI chat box to answer all of their questions. I am not a catastrophist when it comes to artificial intelligence, but given Norway's experience with iPads or our own with smartphones, I worry that the mass introduction of AI, particularly in schools, will be very bad for children. And this is me. As a curmudgeon and as a writer, I hate nearly all of the cliches about children, even the ones that are accurate. Cabot, it's true that children are the future. They will be the next generation of parents, voters, and citizens, and all of the cliches about how kids learn by doing are true. AI removes the doing. Just as you can't learn how to ride a bike from reading a book, you can't get the benefits of reading by asking AI to read a book for you. The same holds for math, science, computer programming, and nearly every aspect of education. Our military is the finest and most lethal in the world, but before you learn how to operate a drone or launch a cyber attack, you have to go through basic training. Education is basic training for civilization. How do workers become highly skilled? So as fans of AI, let's say use cognitive shift and upskilling. By removing the drudge work, smart people can use AI to be smarter and more productive. This has a lot of merit for highly skilled workers, but how did these workers become highly skilled? They did the work. Educators learned a similar lesson with cheap calculators in the 1970s. As you got more advanced, you could use calculators for certain problems. But first, you needed to learn how to do the basics. You also needed to learn to think mathematically. AI is essentially a souped-up calculator for nearly all mental tasks, which is why education should mostly stay in the pre-AI world. That will require more memorization, more tests in the classroom, and an education establishment that can resist the seduction of technological fads. If the point of education is to build up muscle memory for how to think and do things, letting kids go home and have AI give them the answers is not very different, educationally, from letting kids cheat. The point of education in the AI era shouldn't be to teach kids how to find the answers in the most efficient way, but to equip them to be ready to ask the right kinds of questions, including the ability to ask an AI chat box why it gave you the answer.
Critical thinking skills.
There you go. So there's another way to look at it. And I really taught, when I taught elementary kids, I really believed in basic facts and memorization of basic facts, because if you don't have to think about the basic aspect of the math, you can solve the problems much faster. But if you have to say 6 times 3, what is that? You have to figure that out first before you can solve the equation. Just messes everybody up. And so I really think doctors memorize tons of stuff, lawyers memorize tons of stuff. That's a skill that people need to have. And so I really, I'm old enough, I really think there's a lot to be said for what this guy is thinking here. So
Dale, you're an avid reader. You've made me a better reader. And with that said, though, I got to ask this question. Almost every book with the programs now, with AI and with programs online, every book can be read to you. Is that reading a book?
Yeah, well, to me it's not reading a book, because so you get to chapter 8 and something puzzles you and say, okay, they started this in chapter 2 back here, and you can go back and, okay, where to me I always have problems zipping through, I guess they don't have tape or whatever, but trying to find, where did I see that before, hear that before? So now to me, if you're reading for enjoyment, and if you want to read a book and you have an hour commute every day and you want to put it so you can listen to it, I see nothing wrong with that, to get the enjoyment out of the book. But if you're reading to learn, I think you need to have the book. To me, that's better.
I see what you're saying. You have special needs students that struggle to read it, so they have that on their computer that read that to them.
Yeah,
and
but
get
usually the words are there with it.
Yes.
Yeah, and the words are highlighted as they're read, so they're trying to teach them to recognize the word when they see it, not just when they hear it.
Yes, but I understand, and I agree what you're saying. Milwaukee, Madison, the largest part of their population reads 3 grades younger than their grade level. Their 8th grade, where they measure the 8th grade in the junior classes. Yeah. They read 3 grades lower. Mm-hmm. They don't, like you said, they don't have to read anymore, Dale. How do you unplug the computers and the phones and everything out of the classroom?
Well, I've seen where in school the first 3 years you have no electronic or limited electronics if you play a game or something. But for the educational purposes, there are no electronics. Maybe those through grade 2 or grade 3. Where you can try to work on developing thinking skills, where they realize that their brain has to do the work to figure things out.
See, though, the argument is you don't get that skill until you're 8 years old, which is the 4th grade, correct? 3rd grade, 4th grade are 8-year-olds.
No, 5, 6, 7, 8 is second grade probably. Five is kindergarten, 6 is first, 7 is second, 8 is third.
So
Yeah.
third, fourth grade.
Yeah. Okay.
So the argument is you don't get that skill until you're 8 years old.
Which skill is that?
Critical thinking skills.
Oh, okay.
It's hard
Yeah.
to teach a
Yeah.
kindergartner critical thinking skills.
Yeah, but you can teach them how to find answers.
Yeah, see,
And you can teach them to get information from material. And I would bet that's probably is that an average or?
Yeah, that's an average.
Yeah, so that means half the kids are getting it beforehand.
Right.
And half after, so.
This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We'll be right back. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We're back, and Dale has two things he wants to say.
A couple weeks ago, I talked about the dairy cone being purchased.
Yes.
And someone told me, hey, Ron Rogers bought the dairy cone. I said, oh, really? I said, I thought he was retired, and this and that, and went on and on. I think I talked about it on here. Well, I'm talking to Shelley, and I said something about Ron Rogers. Well, yeah, but it's not that Ron Rogers. This guy's from Brandon. I said, what? Yeah, he's from Brandon, and he has an ice cream trailer already that he pulls. He also is in landscaping. He's done some work up at the school, landscaping work and tree planting and that kind of thing. I thought, oh, crap, I've been telling everybody it's Ron Rogers, the insurance guy. And so I was going to say something last week about it, then we just went through it, and I was all gone. So anyway, I wanted to be sure to say it's not Ron Rogers from Jesup. It's another Ron Rogers from Brandon. If I led anybody down the wrong trail, I'm really sorry, but I can't remember how many people I kept thinking, why would he come back from Colorado when he's old and retired and buy the dairy cone? Well, now I know why he didn't. He didn't do it.
All right, that's the first thing.
Okay, and then we got a thing from Margie up at the high school.
Okay.
And Camden Fueling, and we've been after this, is starting to write a newsletter for Jesup.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and he is. You can subscribe to it by going to, and this must be a school. It's called Tiny Earl, TINYURL, tinyurl.com/What's Up in Jesup. So if you want to get involved with that and read what he comes up with, and it'd be nice to give the kid a hand.
We need to get him on this podcast.
Well, that would be a good idea. Yeah, and see. I don't know if he's worried about subscription rate or not. It's a free paper.
Yeah.
And you can get a copy at the library and on probably other places. But anyway, he's decided to do this for the town, and so I think we ought to encourage him by signing up for that newsletter.
A little background there. Camden is in Andrews, is the only student in Andrews' yearbook class.
Oh, okay.
And Camden is going, I believe he is going to the University of Iowa for journalism.
Mm-hmm, I think you're right, because they said that in church the other day.
Yeah.
That he's going to do that.
So he does go to your church?
Yeah.
So can you get him on our podcast? Yeah.
Well,
can you pursue him?
I know his mother.
Talk to his mother. I know his mother as well, but you go to church with his mother.
Okay.
All right.
I'll see what I can do.
Thank you. So Dale, I like that. Thank you for those two pieces of information.
Well,
so Ron Rogers isn't that Ron Rogers, and Camden Fueling is that
one writing. Yes, and, it's only two things I've done right the whole program. So,
you're doing very well.
I don't have a lot of confidence in some of my early comments. You talk about being ambushed by something I know nothing about, but okay.
All right. Well,
that's what makes it fun, though, right?
It is a good time. We want to talk about a few things here before I do a little tirade. Don't forget we have Linda Schmidt is showing in the community room at the Jesup Public Library. M's Coffee Shop in Independence is showing Mandy Betts right now. Mandy is very, very remarkable. We had a piece of hers on our Facebook page, and I have more. I've got Mandy's permission to share more of those pieces on our Facebook page. Don't forget we show Nick Thomas at Gedney's, and something that I'm very proud of that we did the second time today is the Wandering Table. The Wandering Table, and if you're not sure what it is, it wanders around Buchanan County, this table. It's been in Fairbank, and it's been in Independence.
Okay.
And it's up for an hour and a half. And I'm not going to tell tell the audience what it is they have to find. It's going to be up about 20 times this summer.
Okay.
And it is some of the more moving stuff that I've done.
Okay.
With the Arts Center.
Okay.
And
I will look for that.
The Tim Kimmer was with me up in Fairbank, and the first person that came to the Wandering Table was Jason Kaiser, the Fairbank mayor.
Oh, okay.
Quite a thrill.
Yeah.
And then today, the first person that came to it was former Jesup student Andrea Boniface, Bush Boniface's daughter.
Okay. Yeah. I know her.
She came to it, but it's a very neat thing that was introduced to me through AI.
Well.
So
I think you're all in, aren't you?
Well, no,
I think you are.
I'm not.
You're old, but you're embracing something new. I think it's wonderful.
I get news flashes from Heather Kite, who lives in New York. She fears it for the damage that it's doing to our environment. There's no doubt.
Yeah. No, that's a big concern.
Yeah,
it really is.
It is, because there is definite value to it. You know, like we talked about the medical value.
Yeah.
That we have.
Sure.
Don't forget the 24-hour Mustang camera, sponsored by Joe's Pizza in Independence, and the 24-hour Hawk camera, sponsored by Joe's Pizza in Manchester. I watched those, although Manchester is about 1,000 people smaller, I believe, than Independence. It is livelier in the morning than Independence is.
Well, just when we were there, that was in the afternoon, I thought I was really impressed with all the business they had downtown and all the foot traffic, going in and out. It was, I think it's just far enough away from Dubuque and Waterloo and Cedar Rapids that those places can thrive like that.
It is. It's a unique thing. It is, and I love. Although I like the positioning of the camera, the Mustang camera in Independence better. Yeah, you have the position right there on the highway.
Sure.
You turn in the corner there, and the one in Manchester is. The angle is wrong. Joe set it up for a certain purpose, and he is the sponsor of that camera. Yeah. So the sponsor got it the way he wanted.
Yeah, he doesn't care what you think.
That's right. That's right. Which is fine. Don't forget the little free yard house in Independence, sponsored by Laces. Laces is doing a Light the Dam campaign right now to raise, what is it? We're going to ask our audience. Anybody in the audience know? Is it worth $40,000? I believe they're trying to raise $40,000 to light. And if you go to Facebook, you can see that, and you go to the Independence Bulletin Journal. At the top of the page, there's a great article about it. So check that out. Dale, I'm going to lose some friends here.
And, we can't afford to lose it because, we lose through old age. We lose a lot of friends every year, so we have to be careful.
We do have to be careful.
Okay. All right, so you have something you want to talk about?
I
bother
do.
You, or?
It is, and perhaps I should have said this sooner. As I look at this, and I've watched since 2016, you've talked about, first off, let's talk about Grassley and the age limit. The Republican Party, who's young in the Republican Party? You've got Ted Cruz, you've got Marco Rubio, you got J.D. Vance.
Those are probably the three that I would... that most people know about, I would think.
Young.
I'm sure there's some young congressmen and senators that I don't really know about.
Up and comers. Right. But those three are probably the next. One of those guys is going to be the next nominee for the Republican Party, I would guess.
Yeah. They'll all take a run at it.
Yeah. Then you have Lindsey Graham. But all of these guys have fallen fallen in with Trump, you know. And a lot, including the Democratic Party, has made major mistakes by doing this. I mean, you know, let's talk about this. You have these guys that are supporting a 34-time felon, a not just charged, a convicted 34-time felon. That if he wouldn't have been elected for president, he'd have served time.
Yeah.
Or he'd have paid some kind of price.
Of some kind, yeah.
I don't know necessarily if he'd have served time. He's a man that was found liable for sexually abusing a woman. This is the president of the United States, Dave. You know,
I know.
If anybody at this table was accused of that or charged with that, we'd be in prison or shunned.
Well, it would be hard to get elected mayor or whatever.
Yeah.
With that on your record.
You remember in 2015 he was on the bus with a guy last name of Bush. I don't think he worked for one of those news shows, and he talked about, you know, having a woman. You know, if you or I were to say that in public, Dale, we would have been fired.
Yeah.
You know, here's a man that is taking pleasure in hurting people, the former FBI Director Comey and John Bolton. And I'm not a big fan of John Bolton, although I can see maybe a little bit of John Bolton's dander up. He lost his wife in 9/11 in one of those airplane crashes. You know, I think his wife was on the airplane that crashed in Pennsylvania, I believe. Maybe that or the...
Yeah, I did not know that. So.
Yeah. You know, so he's pretty pro-war, but Bolton doesn't have a lot of time for Trump, and so he's out to get it. You know, he supports this Miller, who is probably as prejudiced a man who's ever worked in the White House, and that goes back to Woodrow Wilson and Andrew Jackson and a lot of those guys. You know, I mean, we've had slaveholders that were presidents.
Yeah.
You know, I can't understand after 10 years now, 10 years, and there are people that will not badmouth him.
Yeah.
You know, imagine, Dale, you raised 2 girls, and you heard him say what he said on the bus that day.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have been excited about that. And I realize that, you know, you support the other party, but even with that, there've been even Nixon tried to do some good things. He did some good things. He got us out of Vietnam. He got, you know, he tried to pass universal basic income.
I remember once when they were both congressmen, Jack Kennedy tried to get Nixon to go out on the town with him at night, but Nixon would never go. I thought, who would ever put those two guys together? But so.
Yeah. Here's the other problem. How do you fix our country after this president is gone?
Yeah, see, that's a big worry for lots of people, I think, because so many fences have to be mended with people around the world. And whether anybody will ever trust us again on anything, I really doubt. It'll take a long time to rebuild all that.
Yeah, and I realize we're going back to what we talked about early on, but you know, I had to say that, and I know, and I've got a lot of friends that are Republicans. Don't get me wrong. I just don't understand how they don't see those things.
Yeah,
I don't. So, anyhow, if you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea or an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@SteveBrownArtsCenter.org or call 319-290-0241. Leave a message. Look for the Wandering Table. It will be near you soon.
Is there any special day, like on Tuesdays or anything like that?
No,
or nothing they can look forward to?
It moves almost a day each week.
Okay, but it's just random.
It's random. If somebody asks us to move, we move.
Okay.
That's why it's called the Wandering Table. We're not.
Does that happen to you a lot? Get out!
We haven't been asked to move
Okay,
yet.
all right.
We haven't been asked to move yet. I'm Jim Gillespie with Dale Rueber and a guest of hundreds, John Klotzbach. Thank you for answering those questions. Thank you so very much. We have producer Blake Tempus down there who's been working all week trying to hook us up with a guest from England, and it's been tough. Technology's wonderful when it works, but it's hard to fix something that's 5,000 miles away.
Several miles behind us, or several years behind us, and if Blake can't do it, then it's on their end.
It is. Thanks as always to Kelly C. Haas and Heartland Business and Event Center for allowing us to use their podcast equipment and studio. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your life. Don't forget, next Wednesday, there is a supervisors meeting at the Independence High School at 6 o'clock.
Oh, candidates meeting?
Candidates meeting. And at 5:30 at the VFW in Independence, candidate Rob Sands, relative, a Jesup boy, done good, Brady Dahl, is running that meeting, and he will be there to talk about the issues that face Iowans.
Well, as I understand it, people from all walks of life are welcome, like Republicans, Independents. They just want people to talk and see where they're in agreement, where they differ, and try to get some kind of consensus.
Yes.
Is the way I understand it's going to go. So,
Yes, good point.
So you don't have to be a Democrat or whatever to come, or even a Rod Sand supporter. Just show up and talk and listen and see what happens. And
Yes.
that's the only way we'll grow.
So thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your life, and remember that each day is about little victories.